Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Drew Gann and Rusty Witten. Now, let's get to the show.
What's up, everybody? You know, I always queue up. This is the most jam-packed episode to date of the Two Buck Sports Show. Uncle Buck, this might actually be our most jammed and our most packed episode of the Two Buck Sports Show we've ever had.
Yeah, Rusty, it is so jam-packed that I'm pretty sure you jumped the gun a little bit and didn't let that intro get totally finished. All I heard is the intro went off and you were just like, guys.
I'm just so excited, man. Like, we finally have some news, man. Let's go.
You know, we're a once a week podcast, and we have a set schedule. We record on Thursday night. It publishes on Friday afternoons, and rarely do we get to talk about new news. Like we're always talking about things that happened a few days ago. But Rusty, we have new news, and we're going to get into it in our second segment. But you know, we always start this off with just some lighthearted angst, you know, about what griped us and what made us happy this week. And so I've got a lot to get to. Rusty, I'm going to let you get started with it here. Your Bucks best of the week.
So for me, Drew, you know, my Bucks best of the week, I had a lot of good things happen this week. More details to come next week. Got a surprise announcement for our listeners next week, a little foreshadowing, a little tease, you know. But I think my favorite thing, so I've spent for those of you who don't know me all that well, I spent the last 6 years living a tough life in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, right? It was a tough life, but somebody had to do it, right? So,
you know, this is what I'm going to start referring to as the Alan Jackson paradox.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked about the Alan Jackson paradox before, have you? It's my own little theory, my own little gripe about how it's not right. How it's not right how a 6'6" country music singer can get on a microphone and say it's all right to be little bitty. Like, I don't want to hear it from you. It's the same thing as Rusty hat fishing. Like, I don't want to hear about a 6'5" dude who's going bald because nobody can see it. You know, it's my way of my way of saying first world problems. I don't appreciate Alan Jackson, who's 6'6", patting me on the head saying it's okay to be little bitty as if I'm a child. And I don't like you saying, I've lived a hard life living in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where there's a beach within a walking distance.
Yeah, my condo that I still own is currently 1.2 miles from the ocean as we speak. But
so anyway, by all means, please tell us how rough it is.
Just wait till we get to the beef of the week. But anyway, my best of the week, I've moved back to the deep South. I'm back where my heart was, where I was, raised and all that kind of stuff.
God's country.
That's it, man. God's time zone, God's country.
Amen.
And my best of the week is these little old Southern ladies who come in for their physical therapy and bring me sweets, man. Like, I'm not a big sweets guy. Like, I had popcorn just a little while ago. I'm much more of a salty, savory guy. But if this 5'0" little old lady comes in with a lemon pound cake with fresh blueberries in it, or
and you know it's always good when they say,
"Oh, dude,
like, what's this called?" And it's always like, it's a lemon surprise. It's like, okay, yeah.
She said, she said, "This is my lemon bundt cake," and I said, "I'm in." You know, we had a little old lady bring us some German chocolate cake brownies. Like, when you're taking care of these little old ladies, like they appreciate you so much, man. And they're just like, I just want to shower you with gifts.
Very grateful. Right.
I am very grateful. They are too. And they bring me sweets. My favorite story about this was when I was working in Magnolia in the outpatient clinic there in Corinth on South Harper Road across from Dinner Bell. Both of y'all should sponsor.
No free shout outs. No free shout outs.
Both of y'all should sponsor this podcast. I was getting there. I had a lady in her, I was asking her during her eval, like, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do? She said, I like to bake, and I make the best cheesecake you've ever had in your life. I said, I don't believe it. She said, I do too.
Of course.
I said, I don't believe it. She goes, well, I'll make you one. I said, okay.
Perfectly.
She came back to her next appointment with a cherry, strawberry, and blueberry. And I'll PG it up. But she said, I know what you did, you little SOB, and it worked.
You know,
they were the best cheesecakes. For our listeners, they were the best cheesecakes I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. It's something that I hope does not age out of America, or I hope it's not a lost art, the art of giving sweets, because grandmothers are the best. My grandma, at her funeral, I had so many people just come up to me and just be like, she would just make me chocolate pie, and she would just, you know, no prompting about it, nothing, just a normal day. It's like, it wasn't like, oh, sorry for your loss, chocolate pie, or a congratulations. It's just like, it's Tuesday and I was thinking about you, chocolate pie. My grandma's the same way. And it's something that I hope does not age out of America. Like when that generation inevitably dies off in the next 5 years.
I think there's hope for that, because I've recently met someone, a friend of mine, she does like cross stitching.
Like our generation just does. Yeah. Our generation just does sourdough bread.
Yeah. A friend of mine, she does cross stitching, right? Like she does things that are like more old school, right? Like she makes pillows and stuff. Like I feel like there's little pockets in this world that are still doing that. But I agree 100%. One of my brother's good friends, you probably know him from Kasu, Dustin Talley. His grandmother's not doing real well. Dustin, we're thinking about you, buddy. For Christmas, she decided kind of the same thing. She was much like your grandmother, Drew. She would just make sweets for everybody for no reason. And so she's like, like I've got I believe it's cancer. I don't want to misspeak, but I think that's what it is. Anyway, she's not doing all that well. So for Christmas this past year, she just made a bunch of her famous desserts just to give away, just because she's like, I don't know that I'll be here next Christmas. And so my brother ended up with an Italian sweet cream cake that was divine. When I tell you this thing was like this was manna from heaven. Clark was like, go by and get you a piece on the way back to Martin. I'm like, all right, I got me a hunk. I got back to Martin, had a piece, and I was like, you know what? I didn't get enough.
Turn around.
I didn't get enough.
That's me. That's such a sweet attribute about that. It's almost like those people, 90% of them, especially here in the deep South of Mississippi, they came from nothing. They appreciate what they've got, and they're willing, no matter how little they have, you're welcome to it. And it's something that I hope my spoiled generation does not lose track of, because no matter how little my grandmother's had, you were always welcome to it. And it's something so sweet, and it's something I have not thought about in a while. And sitting here talking about it, I'm happy thinking about it. So
so you're welcome in a roundabout way. So hit me with your best of the week.
Yeah. So my best of the week also may make me cry. So as you're listening to this, Friday, February 2nd, 2024, my daughter is 2 years old. My baby girl she was born the perfect time. She was born on 2/2/2022. And so it's easy to remember, but my baby girl turns 2. It's a great day. I can't wait just to sit around with her all day, as if we don't do that every day. But it's just like you take a special intention about on their birthday. And so she turns 2 tomorrow. My wife is already crying like crazy. She's in the bed. She's sleeping with us tonight. And in the middle of her work day today, she sends me like 25 pictures of her from birth till now. Just like, look at how little she was. And so my baby girl,
she's also like 8.75 months pregnant. So there's some emotions running high right now.
Yeah, she is ripe for an overreaction. So that's next topic. I'm not gonna get myself in trouble here on my daughter's birthday.
No. But that was my bad. That was my bad.
Baby Jenny is going to be 2 years old tomorrow, and she's not, but she's full blown toddler now. Does nothing but walk around the house and singing 24/7. She gets that from her mother. It's great. So
I had lunch with y'all last Sunday. We went to church, had lunch with y'all last Sunday, and she was just very much that toddler that's like doing her own thing. I can do it myself. I'm gonna eat this rice with a fork, like just doing her thing, man. Love me some Jenny Drew, man. Love that girl.
I'm tired of these beans. I'm gonna dump it in the floor.
Right.
And then Mama's like, "Why did you let her do that?" And I was like, "I can't stop her."
It literally happened like in
this mess.
she spilled rice on the table that Uncle Buck is cleaning up, and then in like 0.1 seconds, the beans are in the floor. Like it just all happened in like one fell swoop.
You what you learn as a parent is you would rather have a lot of potential small messes. So it's better that she has a bowl of rice and then a separate bowl of beans and then a separate bowl of fruit. Right. So if it's all on the same plate, it's one huge mess. If not, maybe you can quell the messes by a third or something every once in a while.
Sure, because at that point you're running zone defense, right? Like you got 2 adults, 3. You got adult, like you got 2.5. Like I'm sitting across the table, right? Like we got 2.5 adults here. Like surely we can corral it a little bit. But I'm over here entertaining BB and stuff in my face. There's rice and beans everywhere.
It's like it's like a Jack in the Box. Everybody's just trying their best to keep, spinning that little spinner there, and you never know exactly when she's going to erupt, and it always surprises you.
That's it,
so,
man.
Yeah, my baby girl turns 2. My namesake, Jenny Drew Gann, turns 2 years old tomorrow, or today when you're listening to this. So,
and Uncle Buckets is driving down. She told me on Sunday, she said, Uncle Buckets' birthday. And I was like, yes, baby girl, I will be there. I am not missing that party. I will drive whatever distance it takes to be at your birthday party.
You did fly in from South Carolina last year, so you really have no excuses anymore.
I mean, right? So, I didn't miss the first one when I was 10.5 hours away. I'm not missing the second one when I'm 2 hours away.
You are locked into a birthday party every year at this point. So,
and I'll go nowhere else I'd rather be.
Yeah. I know. We appreciate you. But there is I'll go ahead and transition into my beef because it piggybacks sort of what we were talking about. And so at that lunch on Sunday, we all eat lunch and Buckets buys our meal. And I was like, that's a great move for Buckets, stepping up. My beef is offering to buy the meal after I've already been really cheap in ordering my food. So listen to this. So I sit there every time we go to the restaurant. I sit my family down. I'm just like, listen, hey, we don't get paid till Wednesday, okay? So we're drinking water. You're not getting the buffet because all you're going to get is rice and cheese. So you're getting an order of kids' rice and cheese, okay? And I tell my other one, like, yeah, you're not going to eat the buffet. You're going to get what you're going to. You're going to get your taco or one taco, and baby girl, you're just getting a side order of rice and beans, okay? And then we're all drinking water and being miserable. And then at the end, Rusty's like, "Oh, I got it," and I was like, "Well, dude, if you were buying, I would have. We don't live lavishly. No, Rusty was not going to buy if we lived lavishly, okay?"
That's why you wait to the end of dinner to pay. You just wait and see what happens. If everybody gets steak and lobster, you're like, "You're on your own today, boys." But we got all the side dishes. I'm like, you know what? I got this one.
Yeah. He got out of there. He fed 6 people for $27. I don't know. No, it's not that cheap. I know that.
It wasn't that cheap, but it wasn't a lot more. This is Burnsville, Mississippi. It was relatively inexpensive.
My dad used to get so mad at my sister because I've realized that a lot of the aspects of my father growing up, because I'm like, we're drinking waters. If you're going to go out to eat, we can eat at home. So if you don't want to eat at home, you're going to eat within reason. And my sister, my baby sister, would every time order the $15 meal, the $15 entree every single time. She was getting, if we were going to Japanese, we're all getting like chicken and fried rice, and she's getting steak and shrimp like every time. And so it's really followed me into my adulthood.
Listen, I'm the same way. When I go out to eat by myself, I'm like, it's just water. I might have a beer, but I'm getting like cheap stuff. The only time I don't do that is when I'm buying for other people or when I used to go on dates. Don't do that anymore. But when I used to go on dates, we splurge a little bit, right? You guys show off. But anyway, I hear you. It was out of the goodness of my heart. If you had ordered steak and lobster, I'd have paid for it anyway.
But I've only got so much goodness. I've only got $40 worth of goodness.
That's it. If it had been $60, you were out, man. Sorry, you're on your own. But like,
trust me, if it had been $60 worth, I would have left some kids at wash the dishes.
Again, I'm a doctor, but I ain't that kind of doctor.
That's right. So, all
right. Funny. So for me, I was telling Drew off air, I'm tired of sounding like an old man. Like I've had several comments about like just people being like, "Hey man, like you sound super old on this show." And I'm like, I am.
Grumpier old man over here.
Last night I was hanging out with some of my coworkers, and they're a little bit younger than I am, and they were like, Craig was like, "Yeah, you're like what 36?" And one of the other girls goes, "You're how old?" And I was like, "Ma'am, like I have excuse me."
Yeah, like hey,
what in the world?
Ask me how old I am at heart.
Like, yeah,
these knees are 27. Okay,
no, the knees aren't. The heart is, but the knees aren't. 3 knee surgeries later, they ain't 27. But anyway, so this is very much like a first world problem. Like I recognize that. So Monday morning, I get up, I wake up early, I work out before work, because if I don't, I ain't going to do it. I get lazy in the evenings and come home, I want popcorn, I want to kick my feet up. Like if I don't do it first thing in the morning, it ain't happening. So I get up Monday morning, about 5:15, I'm in the bathroom getting ready, and I put my Apple Watch on, and I pull it, to put it on because I've got this little band, and the daggum clasp comes off. Like just pops right off into my hand. And I was like, oh no. I was like,
if that was me, I'd be like, oh, I guess I'm not supposed to work out today.
Well, I worked out every morning this week, but none of them count, right? Because anybody who logs their workouts know if you can't log your workout, it doesn't count.
Have I told you my my theory on calories? If you don't pay for them, they don't count. If it's if in college, if it was 2 for $1 margaritas, the second one has no calories. If somebody's buying your meal, no calories.
No calories. Well, anyway, I busted my watch on Monday and I ordered a new band, but Amazon is like, it'll be there Friday. And I'm like, crap, that's a whole week. And like, it's not a big deal when I'm working out, but in the clinic, I feel naked. I don't have my watch on currently. I feel naked without my watch, right? We can talk about the difference in naked and necking on a different episode, but I feel naked without my watch, right?
Naked is just you're taking a shower. Naked is you're doing something scandalous.
So Louis Grizzard, R.I.P., famous comedian, made that famous by saying,
"Don't bend over."
He said, "Naked means you ain't got no clothes on, but if you're naked, you ain't got no clothes on, and you up to something."
My dad had a Louis Grizzard book growing up, and I never read it. I just always saw the title. The title said, "Don't bend over in the garden, Grandma. Them taters got eyes." I have no idea what it's about.
He's a great comedian. If you haven't heard him, look him up. We've completely derailed. Back to my beef, because we got a lot to cover tonight. But my beef, real quick. $2. That's it. This is my bedtime. This is the witching hour. This is my bedtime hour. And so y'all get what you get. You get what you pay for in this episode. So here we are. Anyway, so all week long, I'm a physical therapist and I use timers. I'm like, hey, we're going to do this for 3 minutes, or I'll set a 10-minute timer. We'll take you off of that. Or, hey, we'll do this for 5 minutes. And I've tapped my wrist probably 38 times a day where I'm like, all right, we'll set a 3-minute. Dadgummit, there's not a timer there. And so then I'm like, again, it's a first world problem, having to grab my phone or computer or it's something else.
Right.
But it's so
you got an egg timer.
You get so habituated to it. It's at least 40 times a day. Look, I put besmirched on Twitter this morning and then habituated in the show. Your boy's getting educated.
Yeah. Rusty has created a word. Welcome to the $2 Sports Show, everybody.
Habituated is a word, man. Thank you very much.
No, it was so weird. You're talking about this, and I relate to that because for Christmas / anniversary, my wife bought me this watch. And it's not, I've worn an Apple Watch for so long that my phone dings and I just assume it's somebody else's phone because my watch always buzzes when I got a text message or something. It's weird.
Because you're habituated to it.
I'm habituated, man. That's the title of the episode right there.
It's a word.
Habituated. Yeah.
Anyway, yes. So all week long I've been I cannot wait to get the stupid watch bands tomorrow. I'm gonna pick them up before I head to Ripley because I'm tired of tapping my naked wrists looking for my timer for sure. Yeah. So that's my beef of the week is when you're habituated to something and it ain't there no more.
Make or become accustomed or used to something. So,
thank you very much.
It's a word.
I'll be here all week. Tippy bartenders.
I digress. So so that's our
So
best
we got a lot.
Yeah.
We got a lot to cover. So those of you out there that have a steakhouse or a burger place or something, what a great segment for you to sponsor the Bucks Best in Beef of the week. But in the meantime, do us a favor. Go to bluffcitymedia.co. Bluffcitymedia.co. Check us out. You can join as an insider. Uncle Buck teased this up this week. It's a fantastic thing that you can do. Now as an insider, you get access to our Discord. Not only do you get access to our Discord that Uncle Buck and I are very active on, but we now have our own channel inside said Discord. You can ask us questions. We're going to do polls in there. We're going to post insider only content in there, access to us that you don't get anywhere else. Now you can be our friend and you can also be an insider with us on Bluff City Media. So make sure you check us out, bluffcitymedia.co. Join it up. It's $5 a month. You get unlimited access to us and all the other great shows on this network. Uncle Buck, they need to join, right?
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you right now, me and my wife are having a horrible time coming up with a middle name for our son. And so hop in the Discord. And if you can give us an idea that we agree upon and we choose it, you'll get a free t-shirt.
So, hey, there we go.
Get in the Discord. Go. Give me baby names. It's got to go with Banks. His name will be Banks. first name. Banks will preferably be his first name, but if we can only find something that makes sense as a middle name, then okay. But we're looking at Banks.
Yeah, listen, man.
So fill in the blank. Yeah.
I'm gonna hop in there and put Russell, Rusty, and Craig because one of them's getting picked after Uncle Buck.
No, they're not. Unfortunately, it would be more likely to name me Banks Buckets.
Hey, now we're talking.
Banks Rusty. So
there it is. All right, guys. We'll see you on the other side of this commercial break. We've got a lot of Grizz content to talk about, but help Uncle Buck pick a middle name.
Not just the level of individual talent that he plays with, but it's also the level of his mind. We haven't gotten cross-court open shot this year. Right. We haven't seen that pass a lot. Number one, you got to respect him going to the basket. There's a roller. I got to watch the roller. He has the mind to be able to say, I see all of that, but now I see this guy over here. I'm going to get him this open shot. How shifty he is to always be going forward. It's usually side to side.
Yeah.
His dribble moves are side to side, but going forward.
Right.
Which is very hard to defend. I just want to get you, as many times can I get you to do this? But for him, it's not here. It is here, which is what are his moves to get down the floor. It's awkward for a defender to try to catch a cadence. You dribble. So now what I do is now when you go put that ball down, I'm going for it. But with him, it's hard for my cadence. But what's my cadence for you? I don't know what it is.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Who do you need to step it up? Outside of David Jones, I think David Jones is David Jones.
I don't think you need him to step it up because he's been performing.
Yeah, like he's David Jones. Like outside of him, he's fine.
I think Quinterly needs to play better.
In what way? Like, I mean, he's facilitating the ball well. I mean, what do you like? I don't.
To a 12 from the field's not cutting it.
It's not great. It's not great.
And I don't need a runner 3 from the top of the key with 3.5 seconds left.
Is Virginia the game where Jordan Brown is going to cook? Those dudes aren't looking to run the ball.
Cook what? Dude, I thought he was going to have a freaking night. He came out with that fresh cut, lined up. And then literally within the first 15 seconds, missed a wide open layup. Yeah. And then picked up 2 fouls right away.
I feel real lied to because I thought we were getting a 20 and 10 guy.
Didn't think it did anything for you.
Well,
I think we all thought we were getting a 20 and 10 guy. And we are getting that in David Jones.
I'm not even getting 20 or 10 minutes out of the guy.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be a jam-packed segment, so buckle up because we finally have not only one piece of news, we have 2 pieces of news that dropped about the Memphis Grizzlies today. So we'll start with the first, and to me, the most nostalgic. Like, I've spent the last 2 days on my lunch break in my feels that I wasn't planning to be because one of the original core 4 members, a pillar of this franchise, he walked so the new era could run. Marc Gasol is going to have his 33 hung in the rafters. And so Drew and I this morning, Drew messaged me the PR release and immediately said, I said, we've got to go because we were there when Zebo got his number retired. We immediately hopped on Ticketmaster and got 4 tickets for Drew and Haley, me and TBD. But we got tickets to be there for it. Yeah, exactly. But I got an extra ticket for somebody out there. Hop in the Discord if you want to go with me. Let me know. Highest bidder wins.
Bidding starts at $50.
That's it. $50.
Nobody's going to pay that.
Nobody's going to pay $50 to hang out with me. Absolutely not. But yeah, man, like we've got so many memories of Drew and I going to games together. We've watched him on TV. I wrote an article for Grizzly Bear Blues this morning. Shout out to Mark and them giving me that opportunity just about what everybody. It's at bluffcitymedia.co. Again, you can see it there. It's one of the featured articles. Mark, to me, Drew, is like I grew up a Grizz fan. I'll kind of hog it for a minute, and then I'll shut up and let you talk. But I was originally a Vancouver Grizz fan because of one Bryant Reeves. Was a huge, big. I'm a big, lunky white guy that played the post in middle school and early high school, so I can connect with those guys, right? Bryant Reeves, and then Marc Gasol. When he came in, he was in Lausanne Collegiate School, played some overseas before he got traded. Actually, today, 16 years ago today, became a Memphis Grizzly. And I followed the team from Vancouver. when they came to Memphis, like the greatest day of my middle school life, right? Like, or actually as a freshman in high school in 2001. Wow.
I was in 4th grade.
Nah, shut up, man. God, I knew that was coming. God bless. I just had that moment. Like, here's my moment of being old. Welcome to the $2 Sports Show. But watching Memphis the Grizzlies move from Vancouver to Memphis was one of the best days of my life because the team that I root for is now in my backyard.
Right,
and so grew up going to games at the Pyramid and then started going to games at the Forum. And it really came to life for me when Mark got here, right? When Mark came in and then he joined his 2007 draft classmate, Mike Conley, to form half of the core 4 that ultimately would be the 2 of them plus Zebo and TA. But Mark really revitalized the Grizz, not only for me, but for a large segment of the Mid-South, right? Like he was kind of the driving force behind that because nobody could take over a game. Sans Zebo, nobody could take over a game like Marc Gasol could from an offensive or defensive standpoint. You know, I talked about this in the article. Like I can remember we ultimately lost the game, but I'm falling asleep watching the Grizz. Like we're supposed to get beat. We're down 3 and to the Spurs, and Mark dribbles through some trees, gets around Tim Duncan, and banks in a 3 from half court. And all of a sudden, I'm awake and I'm all in. Right?
That was an incredible game. Overtime.
We ultimately lost triple overtime. We lost in triple overtime, but won in over. He won a game against the Spurs in overtime in the playoffs. You know, Mark was a big reason we went to the Western Conference Finals. You know, Mark, Big Spain. When he was dominant, he was truly the Wendigo of the Native American folklore. Just like, yeah, that's a deep nickname there, man. Yeah, man. Like he was just this, like he had this alter ego that when he would turn it on, and, you know, I complained about him on Twitter a lot. I was looking through some old tweets today about Mark and just like wanting him to be more aggressive. But when he was offensively, defense was never an issue. Right. But when he was aggressive on offense, he was a walking bucket, man. Just that mid-range, like elbow shot was just lethal. And so I'm just going to be honest with you. You know, again, Uncle Buck and I have tickets for April the 6th. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in my feels. You know, I'm going to have some water in me that night. So I'm sure I'll be real nostalgic and just making like I'm going to be in my feels watching Mark and these guys on the court. Just celebrating a guy that really set this franchise up for success, right? He mentored Triple J and really has been just a good pillar for the community as well. Not only Memphis, but basketball at large. And so shout out to one of my favorite players, Marc Gasol. You know, thank you for what you did for us, man. And again, check out my article on Grizzly Bear Blues to see what exactly he meant to the franchise as the most decorated player in our history.
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up really well, Buckets. When I started being a Grizzlies fan, it was the Core 4 era. You know, I graduated high school in 11. I think that's probably about the time I started really watching the Grizzlies. And now I watched the NBA as a whole. I was a real big Steve Nash fan back in the day. About the time he got traded to the Lakers, and I said, I'm done with you. It was about the time I jumped over to the Grizzlies, and I've been here ever since. But yeah, he was always a member of those teams growing up, and it was frustrating because, you know, you did have those times where it was like, hey man, just be the guy. But there was one thing about Marc Gasol you could always count on, and is that he was always locked in. He always was, you know, Mike Conley was the conductor, is what they call it. Marc Gasol was equally that to this team. He was the heart and soul. He was the organized teammate. He got that, you know, he was such a Eurobasket kind of basketball player. He was so smart, cerebral, smart. He knew what you were doing before you knew what you were doing, and it came to fruition so many times on the defensive end to the point to where he was the NBA Defensive Player of the Year in 2013, I believe.
The 12-13 season, he was the first European-born Defensive Player of the Year, which is a big deal.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. But he was just so instrumental to that team. He was the backbone. He was the backline of defense. He was the scorer if you needed him, but then he was always so eager to get better scores, better looks. He was never willing to be the guy to step up. He was always like, okay, I will pass up this decent shot for an amazing shot by a cutting TA or Zebo on the block or a Mike wide open 3. Like, he was just such a smart player, and he was the kind of player that elevated everybody else around him. He was a true point guard down low because of how 100% smart he played the game. My favorite memory of Zebo, and you talked about the the two buzzer beaters, one to force it to overtime against San Antonio, the other one to win it against San Antonio, both of those in the playoffs. The one that I can remember to my dying day was staying up late at my parents' house upstairs in our game room. And it was a 9:30 tip against the Clippers. And it was like the fierce rivalry. It was
the heat
of the Flop City Clippers. And he drained that corner three with just seconds to go. And he hit Conor McGregor $1 million strut. And I can see myself from above, like in memory, stomping, jumping, and then strutting across right in front of the TV, just mimicking Marc Gasol in my parents' game room. That's my favorite memory of Marc, because when he did it, he wasn't like Manu Ginobili. Like, I don't remember any time Manu Ginobili or Tony Parker, these other European greats, ever having much swagger. But Marc, when he hit it, he would have that swagger, and he'd have that oomph about him. And when he hit that shot in LA against the Clippers in a regular season game and hit that $1 million shot, I was fit to be tied. Man, I was about to jump out the window. Like, I
still hate those Clippers.
Yeah.
I actually shout out Zach Jones, friend of the podcast show. I have that bobble arm, I guess, that he got for me as a giveaway because I couldn't make the game.
I was there.
You and Zach, and it was maybe Patrick. Like, it was a group of y'all that went. I couldn't go for whatever reason, and
one of the arms came off in transit one time when I was moving. Yeah,
it did. But I have since super glued it back on. It's on my card at work. Marc is forever strutting on my card at work. And I bought Zach Don Julio for getting it for me. But man, like, Marc is just such a pivotal reason why we are the Grizz of who we are today, right? Like, he paved the way, and so he absolutely needs his number hung up there beside Z-Bo. You know, again, we were right there when that record got hung. 33 belongs up there, as does 9 and 11, and that's coming in the future. But, like, to see what because, like, he not like Marc is different than even Mike and Tony and Zach. Like, Marc is Memphis, right? Because he finished high school in Memphis because Powell was a Grizz. At Lausanne Collegiate School there.
Memphis knew him as Powell's little brother before they knew him as Big Spain. Right.
Exactly. And so then, like, now the infamous trade that sent Powell to the Lakers, where he won multiple championships with Kobe, and Marc came to Memphis. And, like, there's a famous rant of Stephen A on ESPN because Kwame Brown was also in that trade and just went off on Kwame Brown for being soft and out of touch and all this stuff. And then, like, even like I remember that trade just being like, we got the fat younger brother. And then to watch the metamorphosis from that to Big Spain was something of legend.
Yeah, and let's not pretend that when Marc got traded here that he was anything other than a piece, because he was drafted in the second round, pick 47.
48.
Or 48. If
47.
You think,
47. You're right. Sorry.
Okay, don't correct me. Don't come at me.
My bad.
Back off. I just looked this up 5 seconds ago because I didn't know.
It's in I'm looking at my article right now, and I even wrote 47.
Okay. But yeah, and for him he kind of bootstrapped his way up to the league. You know, he was, his last name may have been recognized, but he was not a sure thing. Powell was the 3rd pick of the draft.
Right. Yeah.
Marc was not that, and he really bootstrapped and got himself into shape and really became him and Mike. The thing that made them so important is they were the yin to the neuroticism of TA and Z-Bo. Like, you had to have a little of both. And it was the yin and yang that made the city fall in love with them. And it's the thing that the core four, what's not talked about enough, and the reason why their numbers are going in the rafters is because of what they meant to the city of Memphis as well. All 4 of them really, really hunkered down here, got real involved in the city, and it's something that, I guarantee you, Marc Gasol, Mike Conley, Tony Allen, and Z-Bo will have a house in Memphis until they die. It's the buy-in they had with the city that makes them special. And I could not be more proud. I mean, it is the game this year that it's like, all right, that's circled. 2 years ago, before the legal troubles happened, I bought 10 game passes for Grizzlies games so that I could get to see the Tony Allen jersey retirement, and then we made a special trip to see the Zach Randolph jersey retirement. So, and side note, put their jerseys in the rafters. I hate those records.
Yeah,
I hate.
I get the connection to the city, but I agree, man.
But
hang those jerseys,
the white Grizzlies jerseys hanging in the rafters.
50, 33, 9, and 11. Put them jokers up there.
And I love Memphis, and I love the music scene in Memphis, and I understand the significance of that within Memphis. You can't take one without the other. However, they are basketball players that retired playing basketball. Put a jersey up there. I want to see the jersey. I want to see the 50 on a white jersey. I want to see the 33 and the 9 and the 11 on a white jersey.
Yeah,
call me old-fashioned.
No, I hear you, man. And I kind of put a bone up with this. Like, Mark was our first All-Star, and he made the game 3 times. He was our first all-time All-Star starter. He was our first postseason award winner with the DPOY in the 12-13 season. He leads the franchise in so many things, from minutes played, offensive, defensive, total rebounds, free throws made. He's, top 2 in so many categories. But the thing that makes Mark Memphis is like what you talked about, Drew. He's a bootstraps player. Zebo famously said, "It's a blue-collar city. I'm a blue-collar player." Mark is the same way. Mark had a grind, right? Because when he got here, it wasn't with a lot of pomp and circumstance. 47th pick of the draft, Powell's younger brother, trade fodder to get Powell to LA to create these runs that Kobe and them went on. But to watch that development, to watch him grow with the city is a perfect embodiment of what Memphis is. Blue collar, counted out, discounted, but rising from the ashes. So shout out Big Spain. Super excited to watch 33 go up on a record, hopefully one day on a jersey, like Uncle Buck said. But really stoked to see Mark get the due that he is owed. So if you're a Grizz fan, young or old, new, especially like if you're like Drew and I, you're kind of some of the old hats that have been fans for a while, bring a new fan so they can appreciate who paved the way for Tripp and Ja, right? Because like, when Mike's retired, like that'll be kind of the Ja connection. This is the Jaren connection, right? Like it's like Mark is the reason we have Jaren, because he took Jaren under his wing in his first couple of years in the season. And Drew, like I got to see Mark's last game as a Grizz. They played at Charlotte, and my ex and I went over there and watched the game, and the Grizz won, but it felt like he didn't play a ton that night. He played a few minutes and they pulled him early because it was done, right? He was being traded, ultimately went to Toronto and won a championship. And then we got drunk Mark in the parade, which is one of my favorite things. I mean, the guy got grit and grind engraved on his championship ring. Like he loves Memphis. And obviously his time in Memphis meant more to him than just a basketball career. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Couldn't have a better representative of our organization, and I will be forever grateful to Marc Gasol for what he meant to this franchise and to the city.
Yeah, he finished. He is number 2 in points for the franchise. He finishes behind Mike Conley by 49 points, and so could not be happier to be able to see Marc Gasol's jersey get retired at FedEx Forum in April, and Mike Conley has an off day that day, and so hopefully that he can get in.
It's gonna be tough because
TA will be there.
Mike's on a West Coast trip because they're playing like Sacramento, LA, Portland, and it's like an off day in there, so it'll be tough. But Captain Clutch, if you're listening to this, man, come on, man, get back, be there for Mark. That's it, man. That 3 salute, I'll like. Anytime somebody shoots the 3, I still do that thinking about Mike. But get back, man. It'll be a great ceremony. Like we got to see 2/3 of 3-6 Mafia when they retired Zebos. I don't know what they got planned, because Juicy J wasn't there. They're on the outs. But anyway, speaking of that game, like I want to drop this little nugget in real quick before we get into the trade because it feels like an appropriate time. April the 6th, we're playing the Sixers, right? We got Joel Embiid, who has been ducking Jokic for the last several years, which shout out Mark and Luke and the Daily Grind, another show on this network you need to listen to. They called Mark like a mini Jokic today. And that's a very appropriate, right? Like Jokic is very, very elite, but Mark was kind of in that same vein as a facilitator in that high post position.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Super Marc Gasol is what Jokic is.
But I saw this great stat. Shout out to Wade, one of my coworkers, Wade Moran. He's a tech that works with me here in Martin, Tennessee. Brought this to my attention today on Instagram. Drew, Ryan Howard, not of Office fame.
Okay.
But the former
BJ Novak.
Not BJ Novak. The former Phillies first baseman, Ryan Howard, has been retired from professional baseball since 2016.
Okay.
But Ryan Howard has played more games in Denver, in Colorado, than Joel Embiid has since 2016. Ryan Howard played 3 games in 2016 as a first baseman for the Philadelphia Phillies. Joel Embiid has played 2 games since 2016 in Colorado.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I'm all for making yourself look good.
But if
I was a Phillies fan, Phillies. If I was a Sixers fan, I'd be, you want to win those games, and it's an East-West cross conference matchup. But
I'm sure there's reasons. But like, if you're scared, say you're scared.
I know what the reason is, and it's because he don't want to play him, and it'd be a terrible matchup.
Oh my God, he'd get punked.
But that is an amazing stat, though, that Ryan Howard, who has not played Major League Baseball since 2016, has played more games in Denver than Joel Embiid has. This is an amazing stat.
Yeah. So shout out to Instagram for bringing that up on the algorithm. But Drew.
Yeah, we need to talk about the big news of the day.
We had a trade. And so Drew and I were a big fan of Steven Adams' stats on this podcast. We shouted him out many times. We've sent him some DMs to try and get him on this podcast. If you're on Twitter, it's at Funaki Stats, FUNKAI Stats. I don't know if I said that right, but close enough. NAKI.
Yeah.
FUNAKI Stats, Funaki Stats. Check him out.
You'd have think if we did any research at all, we could get this. But.
Right. But like, he, she, they, them, they tweeted out today that they're going to stick around. They don't know what it's going to look like, but they're going to stick around as a Grizz fan while they follow Steven Adams to Houston. They did say they're going to have to delete some Dylan Brooks tweets, which I thought was funny, but shout out Funaki Stats. But yes, so the one big Kiwi, aka Aquamane, was dealt today for Victor Oladipo and a pick in the 2024 and the 2025 draft. Drew, there's a lot of moving parts in here. I don't know that the Grizzlies are done. Let's get your take on it. I've talked a lot tonight. What are your initial thoughts, like gut reaction to the trade and what it means for the team, Big Steve?
Yeah, so it's tricky. I kind of always try to not be emotional when it comes to this time of year and try to think about big picture stuff. And there's a lot of things about trading Steven Adams that make sense. Things we've talked about on this show before. But my first reaction was like, dang, man. I love Steven Adams. He is it's the most heel turn of heel turns for me, from hating him to loving him. I would take a bullet for Steven Adams now. Yeah. And his last season in Memphis has not been what he wanted or the Grizzlies wanted or anything, dealing with what he's dealt with injuries. And, there's some stuff behind the scenes there that I'm sure may get talked about in the future, but he was not happy with how his injury was handled. Fans were not happy with how his injuries were handled, and it just became inevitable this season as you see guys like Vince Williams Jr. get a contract, and then wanting to get G.G. Jackson a contract, and then thinking about picking up Kennard's option possibly because he's been playing really good. And if you're paying these guys in the middle of the season, and then you're looking at a possible Luke Kennard, possible trade for this person, you've really got to shed some money, and because you're really skirting that second apron that they enacted this year, and so it makes a lot of sense. But my first reaction, Rusty, was just like, dang, like I hate not having that guy in our corner, because everybody wants to have their goon, their to use the hockey term, that guy that's always going to back them up, that always does the little stuff, the hard stuff that, not every player's built to set screens all night. And and if they are, they don't always want to. He's a guy that accepted his role. He was an amazing passer. He was an amazing screener. He was an amazing rebounder. And there's just the players in the NBA that are willing to let that be their role and to excel at it are so few and far between. He will be missed. Regarding the trade in particular, what you got back was the skeleton of Victor Oladipo, who will not play as a Grizzly. He will not show up in Memphis. This is a Carmelo Anthony situation.
Yep.
He's just not coming to Memphis. He hasn't played for Houston. I was surprised that he was at Houston,
right?
On their books, because I didn't know he was at Houston. But then they got 3 second-round picks. My second thought was like, that's all you get? You got
I disagree.
But I'm just going through my thought process.
Sure. My bad.
It's like, you've got somebody that as a Grizzlies fan you value so highly as a player, as a, you don't think about him as an asset. And so it's the same thing we talked about, and we were wrong about. You trade Jonas Valanciunas and all you get back is Steven Adams and, a slightly better pick in the first round. Turns out we were wrong about that. Wish would have picked somebody else at number 10, but that's a different conversation. What you got back in Steven Adams was worth it,
Yeah.
And so, where I landed at the end was that the Grizzlies front office always uses second-round picks extremely efficiently. They always package them together to move up higher in the second round to try to get somebody in that 31 to 35 range that they know can play, or package them together and get to 30, which they've done twice with Brandon Clark and Desmond Bane to get up to 30. I'm sorry, not 30 was Santi Aldama and Desmond Bane.
Right.
And so I trust them. They know what they're doing. They're really good with maneuvering this. I think they value those second-round picks much highly than the normal schmuck who has a sports show that records on Thursday nights.
Right. So here's my thoughts. Like, kind of the same thing. Like, I'm going to miss Big Kiwi because he was our goon. Like you said, I hated him in OKC, but he became a Grizz. He became very lovable. Those tap-out offensive rebounds.
I really want to root for him, but he went to go play with Dylan Brooks.
Oh, man, I know. But, like, watching him develop into what he was, and I mean, forever will be etched in my mind the night that Dylan and Shannon Sharp and T got into it, and Shannon was talking big in his cardigan until Steve-O walked over there, and all of a sudden Shannon wasn't so big no more.
It's the only time I've ever seen Steven Adams pull his hair out of the bun.
Right. Like, he was finna throw some hands, and Shannon Sharp wanted none of that smoke. He was ducking all that smoke.
That and Tony Bradley, him carrying a 7-foot Tony Bradley away from Ja Morant.
I mean, love me some Steven Adams for that. But, like, Drew, we've hit on second-round picks. So if we keep these second-round picks, like, we've hit on those much better than we have on lottery, not, Tripp and Ja notwithstanding.
Right.
But we took in picks for this year as well as next year. Right. Also,
2 for 24, 1 for 25.
Right. Also, as you're listening to this, last night, X was warming up and going to contribute significantly last night. But all of a sudden, during pregame warmups, the Grizzly PR releases that he's out with. Or it was.
It was during the game. He is not.
It was it was during warmups at tip off. He was ready to play, and all of a sudden, he's got knee soreness and he's not playing. Faithful listeners, those who don't know sports all that well, when that happens, that means somebody made a phone call and said, "Hey, man, is X available?" Because you don't want him to get hurt in some freak accident injury. And so what that tells me is that people are still kicking the tires. We are not done. There's a lot that can be done here. Drew, I think we may still, like, our lottery pick is still well within, keeping. And there are guys like Kyle Filipowski from Duke is a big 7-foot center. There are guys that we can make moves for. Donovan Clingan from UConn is another name that I've seen come up today. But, like, I don't know that we're going to make a draft pick. Our championship window, my thought on this, our championship window is 25-26, right? Because that's right before we're going to owe a bunch of money on Ja and Dez. And how we got Jaren on this team-friendly deal, it still blows my mind. But we're going to owe Ja and Dez a ton of money. And so our championship window is around that 25-26 season. So a project center like Filipowski sounds good. Real quick, I'm almost done. Like, sounds good. But when you've got guys like Nick Claxton and maybe Clint Capella, maybe these other bigs that could be these guys that come in. Like, again, I am pro Wendell Carter Jr. Go get that dude out of Orlando, man. He's like the in-between Steven and Jaren. These picks tell me that we're not done. X being pulled tells me we're not done. I think Luke's going to be a Grizz next year and for many years to come. He's also owed $14.8 million. And if we move him as well, that frees up a lot of money to go get a big that can contribute for years to come. So, faithful Grizz fans, we're not done. It may not happen now leading up the trade deadline. It might. Like, by the time this drops, we might have a Nick Claxton or somebody like that, or a Naz Reid, which is like, whoo, Lord, if we got Naz Reid. But Like, just be prepared that we're not. I know, but we're not done. Like, something's going to happen. It may not be before February the 8th and the trade deadline. It might be the week of or the night of the draft. But fear not, we are not done. By getting these picks, things are coming, things are happening. As you said, Oladipo will never wear Beale Street Blue, but there are moves to be made. And this is a great value for Steve-O because, Drew, he may not play again. There's a real possibility that, I mean, he could retire. Like, if this knee doesn't come back as normal, and PCL injuries are weird, they're not as bad as ACL, but he's also an older guy. He's a big, there can be some complications with that. 3 second-round picks is a pretty good haul for a player who may or may not have a future in the NBA.
Yeah, I tend to lean the other way on Steven Adams. I think he'll play again. His game is not, I don't want to say athletic, but he's not like a high flyer. You know,
he's not like BC. He doesn't have to have bounce. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So I was looking at the Tankathon here right now. The Grizzlies have the 7th worst record in the NBA at 18-30, 12 games below 500 here. They currently own a 32% chance at a top 4 pick, roughly a 1 in 3 shot at a top 4 pick, and a 7.5% chance at the number 1 pick. However, I don't know how that sticks. I don't really know what the teams above them in the lottery, that is, which below them in standings. I don't think any of them are getting any better. That's Detroit, Washington, Chicago, Charlotte, Portland, Toronto. And I don't see the teams below them really being awful. And that's going to be Brooklyn, Atlanta, Golden State, Houston, Chicago, Utah. And so I think you're kind of stuck here in this 6 to 8 range is what I'm thinking. And so that's probably what you're looking at as regardless of how well the Grizzlies play. I just don't think they're going to be as bad as the teams above them or as good as the teams below them. So it's interesting to see. I don't really know what they're going to do with it. I do agree with you. This is a move to make a move. This
is step one.
Yeah. I'm not going to go as far as to say as the final move that they make if they get what they want. I don't know that it's going to be that huge move. I think it's going to be a lot of getting pieces because Grizzlies fans don't forget what you've got over there in street clothes. You still got John Morant. You still got Desmond Bain. You got Marcus Smart, all in street clothes. Now you've got an obvious big situation here.
Yeah.
Whereas you don't have any help coming in. So you're going to need to get a big somewhere. If it is Kyle Filipowski at Duke, if this was a Chris Wallace run team, you could just write it in pen. They're getting 100%. The big white guy from Duke. But
was he a McDonald's All-American? Yes. Draft him.
Yeah. And so I'm curious to see what they do here. February the 8th, right, is trade deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just got exponentially more intriguing for me, and I was intrigued before. Bluff City Media, quick plug here. Yeah. Bluff City Media will be doing a trade deadline show all day long, basically. I think I saw 10 to 4 on YouTube, Bluff City Media YouTube page. Check that out on February the 8th for your trade deadline needs. So, yeah, Rusty, take over.
Yeah, man. Like, again, like we kind of, nailed it to the floor. Like, something else is going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if we, again, X getting pulled tonight kind of makes my spidey senses tingle a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if we ran with some combination of Jaren, John not at the 5, Tripp at the 5, Santi, X, David Roddy on like extreme circumstances, which he was awful against the Cavs last night. But anyway,
he's still young though.
I'm still in. I know y'all are. I'm not, man. Move that dude. He does not need to be a Grizz next year, and neither does Arabia or Zaire. Like, get them dudes out of here.
I'm not nailing him to the floor, but he is head and shoulders above. I mean, he is. I'd rather have him than a lot of people.
No, dude, get Roddy out of here. That dude's a bum. He's a 6'4" center.
I've
never been a Roddy
fan. And you've been absolutely wrong before.
Was I though? Because he's not an NBA player. Yeah, he had a streak after I said that. He is not.
You're picking the wrong hill to die on here.
I'm just telling you, man.
But my point is you can die on this hill if you want to, but it's not a take that is bold enough for you to die. Like, we all could. You don't know. And
I'm just telling you,
nor
he's not
do
an NBA
I
player.
know. The book
There's
is
a
not
large
written
enough
on
sample
him.
size. There's a large enough sample size. That dude is not an NBA player. Get
That
that
dude
bum out
makes
of here.
things happen.
Get
I
that
want
bum outta
people
here.
that are active who make winning plays. Teams
Listen.
need players. No, I'm going to finish. Teams need players that make hustle plays. That guy has it in spades. He is the guy that you want in your corner and on your team.
Ship him to Portland. Get him to Utah. Get him somewhere else. Give me Trey Jemison because he made hustle plays all night against the Cavs. That dude is big. He actually plays in the post. Get David Roddy out of here, man. Miss me with that bum.
We're moving on. Play the same position.
He has been. He's been playing in the post. Get that bum out of here, man.
He is not a post player, and you know that.
But he's been playing in the post because we have no other options. Get that bum out of here.
No, that is exactly my point. No other options. He's playing out of position if he's in the post. That's not on him.
Even when he's playing a 3, he is out of position in the NBA. That dude is not an NBA player. Not an NBA player. I will stand by that. All right, fine. Well, hey, listen, this is February the 1st, 2024, February the 1st, 2025, or 2nd, 3rd, whatever that Thursday is. We'll talk about this again when he's not an NBA player.
We've done this same conversation before, and you came on here and apologized.
But I'm not anymore because he's not good. He's not good. He's not an NBA player. All right. Anyway, I'm done talking about David Roddy. He's a bum. So we're 5.5 games out of the play-in, which is wild, man. Like Pete Pranica tweeted out today, like we have missed 101 games. We've had players miss 101 games in January because of injury. That's across all of our injured players. That is more than 14 teams have missed all year. A great example of this, I wrote the recap for the King game on Monday night. They have had 5 different lineups this year. We're in January. February now. They've had 5 different lineups. We've had 29 different lineups because of injury. But we're only 5.5 games out of the play-in. And a lot of that, large part of that is due to Taylor Jenkins. You know, I've been rough on Taylor Jenkins. I still think he mismanages rotations and players. I still think there are things that he can do better. But my boy is in the conversation for the Western Conference Coach of the Month because he's done a phenomenal job. Drew, we were 8-7 in January. I'll say this. Taylor Jenkins, I've been hard on him, so I want to come on this show and say that Taylor Jenkins has done a phenomenal job in January. But shout out Sean Coleman, Statty Sean, according to the Daily Grind, made a phenomenal point. Listen to this. I thought this was an interesting stat, right? So Jaren Jackson Jr. has had the same amount of 40-plus point games as he has fouled out, right? In the last calendar year. So this was as of 2 days ago. He has had 2 40-plus point games. He has fouled out twice. He has not fouled out in over 10 months. That's 56 games. Why in the world do you keep pulling him when we're in like the final 5 minutes he gets that 5th foul? The Kings game Monday night. Like, again, these games don't matter. We're in January. I do want to talk a little bit about how much fun Grizz games are when it doesn't matter because we're playing with house money. We're playing with a bunch of 10-day and 2-way players. But why are you pulling Tripp with that when he gets that 5th foul and we have an opportunity to win a game against a very good Kings team that we had no business beating? Like, make it make sense. Like, again, he's doing the best he can with what he has to work with. But leave Jaren in until he freaking fouls out. He's fouled out twice in the last 50 now. What? So we've played 2 games since then, so 58 games. Leave his butt in there. That's a whole nother conversation about Tripp and maturity level and quit with these stupid, sloppy fouls. But leave his butt in there with that 5th foul, man. He doesn't foul out often. Why are we pulling him with 3 minutes and 43 seconds to go in a 1-point game and putting him back in with 2 minutes to go, and it's an 8-point game? He's our best player. Leave his butt out there with that. If he gets that 6th foul, so be it. He also might go for 40. It's the same likelihood to go for 40 as he does to foul out. Why are we pulling Tripp in these clutch moments when he gets that 5th foul?
You done?
I'm done. That's my only gripe. Again, like I'm pro Taylor Jenkins.
You said you were done. You said you were done.
That's my
You're
gripe.
done. You're done.
That's my gripe.
Now I'm starting. It is so frustrating to me that you have to lead up this conversation about Taylor Jenkins, talking about how great he's been, despite having like 7 active players on the roster. He had a winning record in January. His January schedule included games against Golden State and the Clippers and Miami and the Kings. And I mean, just a gauntlet of playoff teams. He went with a winning record with Jaren Jackson Jr., GG Jackson, me and you and my daughter playing. You build him up like this just to gripe about one obvious coaching mistake. It was an obvious mistake. He should not have done it. However, I'm going to give you a possible, if not probable, reason that decision was made and it wasn't a mistake. But you get on here, that's my gripe with Grizzlies Twitter right now in relation to Jenkins, is they focus so much on the few things that he does well, that he does wrong, that you miss the forest for the trees altogether. It is not appreciated what he does for this team and the culture that he has built. Quit gasping. You're not getting in right now. I'm going to finish.
I'm waiting my turn.
You just keep that sharp exhaling and you can have your chance in a minute. But what he has done is
real quick though, buckle up. This is going to be a long show. So buckle up.
Oh geez, we're at an hour already. All right. So he has built a culture, a team. Him and Kleiman together have built a whole team and built a whole system and culture that allows for people on the end of the bench to come in and succeed to the point to where they get NBA contracts and they win games that they should not win. No math, no fortune teller, nothing could ever predict that they go and win a game against Golden State or they go win in Miami. And he never gets any credit for this. But heaven forbid, Jaren Jackson Jr. with 5 fouls gets sit down with 3 minutes to go in a virtually tie basketball game, and he gets absolutely barbecued when we lose to a team that is head and shoulders better than us. Now, let me be clear here. Yes, you let Jaren Jackson Jr. foul out of that game before you foul him out with 5 fouls, because Taylor Jenkins fouled Jaren Jackson Jr. out of that game with 5 fouls. I get it. Okay? But that is not a Taylor Jenkins philosophy. That is an NBA coach's philosophy that is just totally backwards. Every coach does it. They sit their best players when they get in foul trouble to the point to where they lose games because they might as well. I mean, if you're not in the game, you're not in the game. And so why take them out of the game before they are disqualified? That is a coaching practice that is questionable across the league. Sit down and watch games that aren't Grizzlies games. It happens everywhere. However, the Grizzlies are down Ja, Dez, Marcus Smart, Steven Adams. The laundry list goes on. Half of those they're not getting back this year. And I don't think it hurt their feelings to lose that game. I think Zach Kleiman saw Jaren Jackson Jr. go out of that game and was like, that's what I wanted to see. You don't steal a game at home. You keep that game in the loss column. Yes, nobody likes to lose, but it was not in Zach Kleiman's point of view. I'm going to give him the blame here and say that it was not ill-advised to bench Jaren in that moment. But don't let that distract you from my original point to where don't gripe about Taylor Jenkins, every little bitty single thing that you don't like about him, and also fail to respect the amazing basketball coach and team builder and leader he is for this franchise that allows players like GG Jackson and Vince Williams Jr. and Scottie Pippen Jr. and John Conchar and Santi Aldama, all these other two-way guys who have gotten contracts because of this dude and how he runs and how he leads and how he coaches up and the culture that he has on this team.
I would put more of that maybe on Jason March, the head coach of the Hustle, because he's developed these guys and brought them up to make him this. And my thing is, here's my thing. If
you're giving credit to Jason March, you're just trying not to give it to Taylor.
Here's my thing. My biggest gripe with all of you Taylor Jenkins apologists that think he's the second coming of the Messiah is this. Like, you cannot criticize Taylor Jenkins at all. He has done an admirable job. You've done nothing but just bemoan me about criticizing Taylor Jenkins for the last 5 minutes.
I'm saying you are being
it's my turn.
Unfair. I'm saying you are being
one
unfair.
wrong thing.
But you are not You're not capturing as a whole. You are not. You are not appreciating the good things. You're only nitpicking the bad.
Oh my gosh! I just said he was a Western Conference Coach of the Month candidate. He's done a phenomenal job. He's been dealt a crappy hand. The hat's backwards. It means we mean business right now.
Yeah.
I'm standing on business with this. I am a Taylor Jenkins fan. I don't want the dude fired. I'm sorry that I don't think he's perfect. I don't think he's like the second coming of Pop. He's Pat Riley. He's Phil Jackson. Like, he's not any of those dudes. He makes mistakes. This has been a problem in feast or famine, whether we're good or not. Like, he makes bad rotation decisions. He makes bad lineup decisions. Just because we're in a famine part right now doesn't mean he is exempt from criticism. Yes, he's done a phenomenal job. The fact that he went 8-7 in January deserves all the props and credit in the world. And there are things he can do better, namely managing Jaren Jackson Jr., namely managing the one NBA player you really have right now. Again, we're seeing Gigi and some of these guys develop into that. But Jaren is a world-class NBA player. Let that dude foul out. Don't pull that dude. I'm sorry that I don't think he's perfect and I have one gripe. I think I'm allowed to have a gripe about a guy who is doing a great job. Like, I can bring up one negative thing about him and it not be the end of the world. Like, the guy has done a phenomenal job. I led with that because that's true. And he can be better. There are things we can do better.
Let's not
that's a fine thing to say.
Let's not minimize the amount of hate you've had by saying it was one thing. You're like, no, it's constant. You're always got something.
Because he's been bad at managing rosters and lineups and rotations from the jump. That's been a thing, man. It's always been a thing.
He is so bad at managing rosters that you get multiple two-way guys who are nobodies.
I don't know that's not just Taylor Jenkins. That's not just Taylor Jenkins.
Serviceable, productive NBA players.
Gigi Jackson is not Gigi Jackson because of Taylor Jenkins. That dude is just talented, man.
But you know what? There are people who are fans of the Miami Heat who hate things that Eric Spoelstra does.
That's all I'm saying.
But
I make one complaint and all of a sudden I'm crucifying the guy. I just made a complaint. Yeah. There are things he can do better. Leave Jaren's butt in the game. That's all I'm asking.
I gave you a perfectly reasonable explanation for that. But there are people who are Miami Heat fans who bellyache about rotation decisions that Eric Spoelstra does. But heaven forbid you get on here and you do that without just appreciating the good things he does. Because I'm telling you right now.
I appreciated all of it.
No, let me tell you right now. For every one thing that you complain about Taylor Jenkins, you should be praising him 9 other times. It's the opposite with you. It is the total opposite with you. And it's the total opposite with every other Grizz Twitter fan on here who does nothing but blame Taylor Jenkins for every loss that we have when we're having 8 dudes play.
Do you ever think that maybe because you're in the minority that constantly defend him and allow no criticism, no criticism of Taylor Jenkins? Like,
I don't think I'm in the minority at all. I think you are in the minority. You are in the loud minority. You are
people who want to make complaints. Like, you think this?
I think you are absolute. You're in the minority with all the other Twitter trolls. All of the same people who don't tweet through the games are just looking at you and being like, "Y'all, they just don't appreciate what they've got." This is why we don't get nice things. It's because we complain about our perfectly good coach.
Anthony's saying, help me out here. My boy has lost it. You cannot criticize this coach one bit without Drew going off the rails about this. Like,
you can criticize him as long as you also
appreciate
him.
I praised him first. Like, I appreciated what the man's doing, and I think there's things he can do better.
You set him up to knock him down.
I can't please you. Drew, hit me with that commercial. Let's go to this last segment, man, because I cannot please you with this Taylor Jenkins conversation.
You can watch this show on youtube.com. Pulling this up here. You've got me flustered. So every Friday, 3:00, this posts on the Bluff City Media YouTube. And you can find that on the Bluff City page by following on the YouTube. You will get access to all of our content, plus incredible creators that are on the Bluff City Media team. Don't miss a minute of all your Mid-South sports action, from the Grizzlies to the Memphis Tigers, all things SEC, and all the latest professional sports updates. Check us out on youtube.com on the Bluff City Media page for all of this content.
I'm just big on being able to vocalize what someone's role is. I always thought my best coaches were the people that let me know exactly what you expect from me. Now, I might not like it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. But if you come to me man to man and say, this is how we think we're gonna play you, bang, 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 and hopefully everybody understand. I'm not saying that this has not been done with this team. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying from my experience, we all have egos when we get to this game. Right. All of us, to the last person on the bench, you got an ego, but all of us can't be the man. Yeah, you got to be able to say, okay, he's the man, but what do I do and what can I do to help us be good? And if it's vocalized to you, then you know exactly and if I'm out there doing it and now I'm not getting the result from you, now we got to sit down and have another conversation. Mm-hmm. But as long as it is told to you, this is what we expect from you, this is how we want you to play, then I feel like, again, keeping this logo. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. All right, Christian.
Yes.
You are Penny Hardaway.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Today, you're going to play act. Okay? Gabe, because you're a Jordan Brown apologist, you're going to be Jordan Brown.
I'm a Jordan Brown apologist. Okay.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Y'all are sitting across the room from each other.
I said, don't tweet him hate. And he's like, you're an apologist. Like, good God. But either way, continue. We're in a room together.
Why did things break down?
Jordan, we brought you in this year to be the centerpiece of our offense. You came in out of shape. Let's call it what it is. Call a spade a spade. We play fast. Told you this when we were recruiting you. We play fast. One of the fastest paces in the country. You have to be able to get up and down the floor. You have failed at that.
Oh, well, I'm leaving. So it's fine.
Cool. Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the 2 Bucks Sports Show.
This conversation has not ended because we're in the chat during the commercial break, just continuing this fight. But we've got to move on, Rusty.
We got to move on, man. We do. We've got a lot of other sports things to talk about. You know, Drew, we had some conference championships this past weekend where we decided who's going to play in the Super Bowl. I bet against Pat Mahomes, and I got burnt. I said that I wanted Detroit to win, but I knew San Francisco was going to win. That was pretty obvious. That was a phenomenal football game. Yeah. San Fran had a great second half, but I mean, Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs did their thing, man. Like, they showed up, they played well, and they won, and they're going back to the Super Bowl. Like you said, this is good for entertainment because while the NFL is 1A, Taylor Swift might be 1B. Even though she's going to be across the world, across the globe in Japan, there's still a way she can make the Super Bowl, according to the Twitter trolls and deep Twitter. But, Drew, 2 great football games. The Chiefs found a way to win. The 49ers scrapped back and won. I think it'll be a good Super Bowl. It's a rematch of 2020. I did see this on Twitter, and I'll shut up. I've talked a lot tonight, but it's 2022. It's 2020. The Chiefs and the 49ers are playing in the Super Bowl. There's a Final Fantasy video game coming out. There's an election year. It's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. A global pandemic happens. It's 2024. We got the Chiefs and the 49ers. I mean, there's another Final Fantasy coming out. It's Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, and here we are, 2.0. Drew, I just
you're going to tell me that I'm going to be in South Carolina at spring break again, and I'm going to be told that I'm not going back to college anymore?
No, we're taking the tinfoil hats off. This is a new year. Yeah. We got a Super Bowl matchup of the Chiefs and 49ers. I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl.
Yeah, so listen, I watched the weekend. The Sunday started off with Chiefs and Ravens, and I could not have been more disappointed in that game. You know, I wanted the Ravens to win. I told you I picked the Chiefs because pick against Pat Mahomes at your own risk. You know, Lamar Jackson, man, it was just an awful game. I felt like it was awful all the way around. He was bad. Harbaugh was bad. The Todd Monken was horrible. They led the NFL in rushing last year, and then Gus Edwards touched the ball, had 5 rushes the whole game. They did not establish run. They didn't try to run the ball. It felt mismanaged, And Lamar Jackson's getting a lot of hate over it, and he did not step up. Don't get me wrong. He was really bad. But his offensive coordinator and the game plan on offense did not do him any favors. And you've got to play perfect when you play Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid and Taylor Swift. You've got to play perfectly. And they didn't do that. And the score looked closer than it was. A late score for Baltimore and a failed onside kick sealed it. I hate it because, you kind of root for new blood, but I'm all in on the Chiefs, man.
Give me Jason Kelsey, man. Let's go.
No, I'm team T Swizzle on this one, baby. The crowd has gone way too far against her, and I don't understand. I know Colin Cowherd, love him or hate him, you only do one or the other. He's one of those polarizing guys. But he went on I don't want to be the guy that agrees with Colin Cowherd, but I was thinking it before he said it, but he provided stats. So I've been the guy that was like, listen, all these people, Rusty included, all these who just get so violently angry over showing Taylor Swift over
frustrated.
Okay. But there are people who get violently angry over showing Taylor Swift on a broadcast. He had the stats. I'm going to use his stats, although I had these thoughts myself, so I don't want to think I'm piggybacking off of Colin Cowherd of all people.
Sure.
But he said that on average on an NFL game, the clip, the shots to her in the family box, whatever, has totaled on average 25 seconds per broadcast. This is just total outlandish behavior for people who are just, I work with a guy, big Chiefs fan. We printed out Taylor Swift pictures at work today and posted them, put them on his truck, put them on his chair at work. And he is so totally against anything Taylor Swift related in regards to the Kansas City Chiefs. He hates it. And I'm so leaning into it now because it's going so far left that Colin Cowherd said the most that Taylor Swift has ever been put on TV in a single game while attending a Chiefs game to support Travis Kelce has been 1 minute. 1 minute of coverage on the TV. And he says, and let's be honest here, the football is only like 17 minutes of football you're watching with the clock running and actual snap to end of play. You're only watching like 17 minutes of football.
Right.
You're watching a 4-hour broadcast and only 25 seconds on average is Taylor Swift, and y'all are all that butthurt about it. And the tinfoil hat people saying it's a conspiracy, I hate you. Like this is some sort of deep state conspiracy between the NFL and Amazon Music or Taylor Swift or whatever. Just go find something else to be mad about. Good Lord,
go
get
kick
off.
Rocks.
Like to connect those dots, man.
Yeah.
It genuine. I'm a fan of happiness, and it genuinely seems when she goes down on the field and they hug each other, this is obviously not a show, okay? Can we just let people be happy without just being outraged over something so stupid? I mean, we're already living and dying over a sport played by men that we don't know in a city that we don't live in over something that in the grand scheme of things don't matter. We're going to take that a step further and hate Taylor Swift being shown on TV. Like, it is just the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life.
Uncle Buck is spicy tonight.
I am so on Kansas City right now. I'm rooting for them. I mean, give me Kansas City, and I'm going against all of Mississippi here who's cheering for the white running back. No, give me Taylor Swift. Oh, I got cousins
Uncle Buck is
like
on one tonight.
I've got cousins that are like, I'm cheering for the 49ers. Like, why? Christian McCaffrey.
Oh my God. Uncle Buck is setting Mississippi back to 1951, but
it ain't me. I'm just shining a light on it here, okay?
Here's the thing. I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl. In 2020, great Super Bowl. 49ers Chiefs are a great matchup. Two offensive-driven teams. Yes. The 49ers defense is great. Chris Jones is an elite defender on the Chiefs. Like, there are some great matchups there. It's going to be a great football game. I think we're going to have a great Super Bowl. I'm probably going to be watching with Uncle Buck. I think it's going to be a great time. We're going to have fun. Drew, I'm excited to watch what this happens. Pat Mahomes is next level. There's comparisons to greats here, right? Like what he's doing is unfriggin' believable. And like, don't get swept up in the Taylor Swift stuff to miss out on the fact of like what Pat Mahomes is doing is super special.
Oh, I've got a stat. All right. So if he wins the Super Bowl, have you seen this? If he wins this Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes will have had more playoff wins than the Sheriff, Peyton Manning. Wow. Peyton Manning's playoff record is 14-13. Patrick Mahomes right now is 14-3 in the playoffs.
What?
Two of those losses are to the GOAT, Tom Brady, and one of them is to Joe Burrow. Yeah. He is
think about what that
away.
Is.
Like growing up, I believe, and I still believe that growing up we lived in the best era of quarterbacks. You had
100%.
You had Peyton, you had Tom Brady,
Eli.
you had Eli. I was going to say Eli. I figured you would scoff. I was going to say Breeze, and just the slingers. Favre early on, Rodgers. For Patrick Mahomes to come in here in 6 years, go to 6 straight AFC championship games, to go to his 4th Super Bowl, I believe this would be his 4th Super Bowl.
Yes, this is his 4th.
Yeah, because he lost one AFC to the Pats with Brady, and lost one AFC championship to the Bengals, and then lost one Super Bowl to the Bucks and Tom Brady. For him to come in here in 6 years to make it to his 4th Super Bowl and to pass Peyton Manning, who is virtually like unanimous, like 2nd best quarterback of all time, 3rd. Yeah. If you want to put Montana 2nd because of rings.
Yeah.
That was an incredible stat that I saw.
I mean, like to be that efficient in the playoffs is just wild. Like he's been in the league for 6 years and had his first road playoff game this year. Like that's just wild. Like what a wild stat. And we're appreciating. Yeah, like I don't know, we're appreciating greatness enough, but
we're appreciating Taylor Jenkins. We're appreciating Patrick Mahomes. We're just appreciating tonight.
It's an appreciation podcast at 1 hour and 24 minutes. Guys, like if y'all are still here, thank y'all for sticking with us. We're 2 goons from North Mississippi that cannot shut up, and here we are, still talking about the Super Bowl, still talking about sports at 1 hour and 23 minutes.
The later the podcast starts in the night, the longer we go.
Drew, we have had 2-hour podcasts that didn't start till 10 o'clock on the East Coast when I was still in Myrtle Beach. We did one about the NCAA tournament that went all night, but I'll digress, man. All I'll say is watch the Super Bowl. It's going to be a good game this year. It's actually going to be a good football game, like the good 49ers defense versus that Chiefs offense. Exactly.
It's what you want. I make the argument every year for March Madness to piggyback off of our bracket that you just brought up. You like the Cinderella stories, you like the Lions, you like all that growing up, going up to the Super Bowl, and you always cheer for the storylines. But ultimately, when you get to the Super Bowl, you want the best matchup. And I truly feel like these are the 2 best teams that you've got. San Francisco has something to prove here, because they will be called frauds if they don't perform, because they should have lost both games in the playoffs that they've played.
Right.
They should.
And they're so talented to have a CMC, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, like Fred Warner, who is a friggin' human missile. Trent Williams, Armstead, Nick Bosa. Like, they've got some studs. And if they don't win this year 100%, like, is the offensive analytics working in San Francisco if they don't find a way to win this year?
Right. And
which is wild. Quick stat on that. Real quick thing I want to talk about. Like, Mike Shanahan and Ed McCaffrey won 3 Super Bowls together. Right now, you got Kyle Shanahan and Christian McCaffrey that could become the first like father-son duos to win Super Bowls in NFL history, which is just wild. Yeah.
Shoot, where was I going with this? Oh, and the last thing I have to say about, I want to circle back to this. We talked about coaching. Lions head coach, Dan Campbell. I want to go on record here and say that I absolutely loved 100%. Going for it on 4th down.
100%.
I hate it. And it's my thing with NBA referees. It gets, you don't make that foul call at the buzzer. Well, if it's a foul in the second quarter, it's a foul at the buzzer. If you're going to go for it on 4th down, that is your identity. You're not scared. You're going to go for it. You're going to put the pressure on the other team. If you're going to do that in Game 6, you're going to do that in Game 16, then do it when it matters. And he did, and if Josh Reynolds does not drop both of those passes, we're not talking about San Francisco tonight.
Yeah.
And so Dan Campbell should get no blame at all for this. I loved it. I love the baldness of it. I would cheer for a college football team who employs Lane Kiffin. Like, I love it. I love being the aggressor in all situations. And so Dan Campbell, everybody, I saw First Take, not First Take, the worst version of First Take, which is the morning show on ESPN hosted by Greenberg. Get Up.
Oh, yeah.
Awful.
Get Up. Awful show.
Yeah.
Awful.
They were like, Greenberg, who I have no respect for and don't care for his opinions at all, was saying it was coaching malpractice. And I was like, I disagree wholeheartedly.
100%.
You're only talking about the coach if the player doesn't make that catch, and it hit him in the hands twice. Man,
and it's Josh
Reynolds.
Down
swinging.
Josh Reynolds is a former Tennessee Titan who had great first quarters, but anytime the game is on the line, that boy gets brick hands. He all of a sudden has linebacker hands. Why do you go 4
drops all year? Like,
no. I watched this dude in Tennessee.
I get
it. He
He
folds in big moments. Like that throw that Goff made was unbelievable. Throw him open on his back shoulder, and he tries to catch it with his hands under instead of turning your hands over, catching the football with your hands like you're taught since grade school. If he turns those hands over, catches that football, we're having a completely different conversation about Dan Campbell being a genius.
The first drop definitely was the reason why he dropped the second one, because he had tight booty hole. When that second ball came,
he got in his head. He got upset, and he dropped the football when he had no business dropping that football.
Dan Campbell continues to be the coach that you want to play for, man.
100%.
I have
100%.
Dan Campbell is that dude, man. And I won't stand. I get on my soapbox for Taylor Jenkins. Just try besmirching Dan Campbell. Just try. I will hit that red button right now.
We're at an hour and a half, and I am pro Dan Campbell. We're shutting this podcast down. Drew, what a great show. If y'all are still here with us at an hour and a half, like, we have rambled on for eons about sports and about things that matter.
This was good content for an hour and a half. We did not waste your hour and a half. If you're here,
you got what you paid for tonight. Thank y'all for being here. If you're still here an hour and a half, check us out at bluffcitymedia.co. Buy some merch at Bluff. Yeah, buy some merch at bluffcityandmerch.com. Bluff City Media. Excuse me. Let me start over. Bluff City Merch.
Wait.
Hit it with it. Welcome to the $2 Sports Show, where we get Marvel Mouth and we butcher this thing. We're an hour and a half in. I am tired. It's 10:36. It's an hour and a half past my bedtime. Check us out, bluffcitymerch.com. There's some great merch representing the city of Memphis, representing your favorite teams, your favorite shows, podcasts, personalities on this network. Our merch is coming. Be patient. It's definitely coming. We're going to pop up on there. In the meantime, find us wherever you get your podcast. There are no refunds for anything you hear on this podcast. And why is that, Uncle Buck?
Because with the $2 Sports Show, you always get what you pay for. See you guys on Friday.
See y'all next Friday. Let's go.
Thank you for listening to the $2 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.